I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Okay, so before we get started with the real show, I have to ask a question. Are we all just whores for Zencastr? Because I keep listening to your episodes and you guys have like the same Zencastr promo that I have, except you've got two voices and I got mine. I'm like, are we just whores to Zencastr now so we don't have to pay for it? Is that what the world is now?
What the world?
I'll take it.
It's an American Horror Story. Because it was like, what is it? It's like, I don't know how deep in the weeds you want to get, but it's like we typically record, maybe we have like 4 that are kind of like, that we're ready to, get to eventually. And if you don't subscribe to whatever the premium plan is, it won't store it for that long.
That's right.
So it's kind of like, for that reason alone, I have to constantly push the Zencastr, which is dynamite. I think we can all agree.
Fantastic. If you didn't believe us in our promos, we 100% think it's a great product.
I think we need to make new and different promos. Although one of our sisters contacted us. She thought because we were doing those promos that we were getting paid. We're like, sadly not.
It's like, okay, well, there's a difference between getting paid and then not getting reamed financially, right?
Right.
I mean, that's just capitalism, baby. Everyone listening and watching, it is my good friends Kevin and Erin of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. This week, we are taking a new approach to our particular brand of cinema. I've mostly had you guys on for musicals. We've done Phantom of the Paradise. We've done Bugsy Malone. I gave you all a break, and we did Rockula with Thomas Dolby and Dean Cameron. I gave you a Paul Williams break, right?
That is true.
Who is not dead?
Very much alive. Very much alive. Doing podcasts. I've been seeing him on people's podcasts lately. It's like, oh shit, what are we doing? We should have reached out to him a long time ago, but
I guess it's available.
He's totally available. But then it's made me laugh because on your guys' episode on Deadly Friend, which just came out not too long ago, you guys talked about Cousin Oliver from the Brady Bunch, who is essentially Paul Williams. In fact, I'm convinced Cousin Oliver is Paul Williams.
Right, same haircut, glasses.
I thought he was fake John Denver.
Yes.
Like there's a lab somewhere that's growing clones of Paul Williams and John Denver, and that's how we got Cousin Oliver.
I always appreciate these references because nobody under the age of 50 knows what the hell we're talking about. Good old Cousin Oliver.
Oh boy. But like I said, we're taking a little bit of a detour, and I think there's one theme that we've had in common with all of the movies that we've covered together. This is our 4th go around, and that is the 3 movies that we've talked about in the past. We've agreed were all conceived and produced by means of cocaine. And so I think it was time to go with the ultimate produced by cocaine film, and we're doing Maximum Overdrive, written and directed by Stephen King and cocaine.
100%. 100%.
Well, he admits it.
He totally
admits it. The other
admits
ones
it.
we just kind of suspect. This one, he's like, yeah, I don't even remember most days.
It's in the credits. Like if you watch the credits to the end, it's like special thanks
Cocaine
to
Wrangler. Yeah.
Pablo Escobar. George Young and Pablo Escobar, thank you for your contributions. We're going deep on this episode, guys.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have to make sure, though, because I scrolled through, I mean, I'm a listener of your show, but I didn't start until like season 2. You guys have not covered Maximum Overdrive on your podcast, have you?
We have not. We will, though.
It seems like such a podcast that wouldn't die episode, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, what's funny is when we first started this, it was literally just, we'll watch horror movies we like, a little sci-fi that we like. It has quickly devolved into freak shows. Like it's a geek show. It is a side show. If it isn't total madness, then we're not interested, clearly.
I guess, yeah. And then, oh God, Deadly Friend. So I want to talk really quickly about Deadly Friend, because great episode, by the way. When I was a kid, I always got Deadly Friend and Chopping Mall confused, because the robot at the beginning kind of looks a little bit like the Killbots. And when you're a kid, you just remember killer robots, right? And so it wasn't until like I was a teenager and could start renting movies on my own that I realized they were two different movies. And long story short, Chopping Mall rules, Deadly Friend blows. That's my vote right there.
I mean, I can get behind that. It's really the robots from Mystery Science Theater 3000 at them all in a killing spree.
Right. But at least it's camp, right? Deadly Friend isn't campy enough to be taken seriously.
It's so boring.
No, it is that thing where it's like it kind of stumbles into ridiculousness. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you're right, Chopping Mall, it's camp. Right. It's got Dick Miller being electrocuted.
And Paul Bartel,
Paul Bartel, absolutely. The whole gang, right? Deadly Friend is like, it's a serious kind of almost an emo kind of teenage romance gone wrong.
Right.
Is what we're supposed. It's basically an after-school special.
It really is, with exploding heads.
With exploding. They have that in common, those two films.
There we go.
There you go.
So to keep it on the theme of machines gone awry, Maximum Overdrive. So, theatrically released on July 25th, 1986, to critical and commercial failure, it was nominated for 2 Golden Raspberry Awards, including Worst Director and Worst Actor for Emilio Estevez. Do you guys know what it lost to that year?
The Razzies lost the Supreme Razzie?
Yeah, it lost both Worst Actor and Worst Director to Under the Cherry Moon for Prince as both director and actor.
I could see that.
I didn't even see that. I didn't even see that.
I mean, and Prince is making choices, right? It's like black and white. It's Kristen Scott Thomas, but it's a train wreck from stem to stern.
Quite frankly,
it is a train wreck.
Quite frankly, his first movie made him look so terrible. I don't know why they gave him the reins to do a second movie.
I kind of like Purple Rain. What are you talking about?
Because it makes him look like such a fucking asshole. So, okay, so you're an abuser too? Rock on.
You clearly need to bathe yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka.
You do. But Apollonia, I'm fine with her bathing in the rivers of Lake Minnetonka, except 100%. That's not Lake Minnetonka. So anyway, that same year, however, it was nominated for Best Fantasy Film at the Saturn Awards. So I don't know. I guess the nerds were just really hard for King that year. Yeah, it was the only one that they're worth mentioning. Stephen King disowns the film, describes it as a moron movie, and considers it a process in the learning experience of filmmaking, which he never intends to do again. So yeah, this movie, I mean, it's not going to kill Stephen King's legacy because he was written and produced and been a part of many great adaptations, but directing wise, yeah. But I'm going to be honest with you, because it's me, the Cultworthy. This movie's not as bad as other movies I've covered. Like, I actually kind of dig some of what's going on here. It's totally insane. The cocaine is in every frame, but there's something kind of fun about it. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I will say this. It's always bad when we start with, I've seen worse.
I've seen worse.
It's not the worst movie I've ever seen.
Honestly, I'll tell you what. I love the kind of opening montage of like just like the baseball boy running for his life. And it's just baseball players just getting taken out left and right, like the steamroller, dynamite. I could have just stayed with him. Frankly, his adventures through town would have been much more interesting. When it's Emilio's bizarre love relationship with the hitchhiker, I was like, what are we doing? And then the annoying married couple, I was like,
Yeah, Lisa Simpson was driving me crazy.
Oh my God. So let's go through the cast really fast. So we've got Emilio
Please.
Estevez as Bill Robinson, our protagonist. Laura Harrington as Brett, the hitchhiking girl with a razor blade in her boot. We've got Yeardley Smith, aka Lisa Simpson, as Connie. We have got John Short as her husband Curtis. We've got, this is a good one, Frankie Faison is Handy. I think most people remember him as Barney from Silence of the Lambs, but also the landlord in Coming to America.
100%. Don't be pulling this falling down the stairs shit on me, motherfucker.
Yeah, it's a real shithole. It's all
You'll love
up.
it.
And then my favorite character in the movie, we've got Pat Hingle as Hendershot, the owner of the truck stop, who's just a real piece of shit, but he does it so well. He doesn't care if it's the end of the world or not.
Yeah.
Right. I don't care if the world is ending. I want you to work 9 hours, but clock in for 8. So much like Night of the Comets, we have a comet that comes by, there's a green glow in the air, and all of the machinery comes to life. Now, this is where I have some questions about the movie. I don't understand the mechanics of it because, like, there are cars and machines that come to life, but then we also see people who've been killed by headphones and by hair dryers, and I don't understand the sprinklers that are going off. Like, what are they trying to do here? Like, what is the science behind this?
I think it's M. Night Shyamalan science, as in The Happening. This is what happened before. The prequel.
They have a very loose idea of what, like, machines are. You know what I mean? And it's like, does it have to be run with electricity, or is it just, who gives a shit?
A garden hose is a machine.
The cord of the hairdryer wraps around somebody's neck. I don't know how that happens, but, you know, somebody does die by Walkman, so that was good.
I'm disturbed that there is one of those turkey slicers in a second movie in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So before we get into the deaths, we're going to go one by one through the deaths. We're going to rate the deaths of how cool they are or how horribly effective they are, 1 through 10. But before we get there, we got to talk about the very opening scene where we get a cameo from our director trying to take money out of the ATM. And the first line of the movie is, "Honey, this machine just called me an asshole." Because the ATM just keeps repeating to him that he's an asshole.
I mean, is he trying to do like a North Carolina accent as well while he's at it? Is he doing a little Meryl Streep action? He's a method actor.
Maybe. I feel like it's the same accent he used when he was like the Moss guy in Creepshow, right?
Jordy Verrill, absolutely.
So he doesn't die, as far as I can tell. And then after that, we are introduced to our first track from AC/DC. Now, AC/DC does the entire album. Like, all the songs in this movie
Which
are
is always
AC/DC.
a bad choice.
Is it?
There was one that I think they played Hell's Bells. The rest of it, you're like, oh, deep cuts.
No, they did You Shook Me All Night Long. The gooch was they played Who Made Who about 1,000 times, which blows.
Right. I just picture Stephen King in his office typing away on a computer high on cocaine, just listening to AC/DC on repeat, and it just made its way into the movie.
Let's go.
It's the
Let's
best.
Go. More AC/DC. More. We're already writing this big fat check. We're going to use every frickin' song.
100%. Then we get like a proto Final Destination opening scene where a drawbridge is starting to go up on its own and cars are backing up and little kids are falling out of the vans and they're falling into the river. And not a bad opening for a horror movie. Like, it doesn't really play it campy. I'm like, oh, cool. Because I haven't seen this in years. I was like, this is not as terrible as I thought. It does get worse, but I like that whole part.
I had a different feeling about that was when you know this shit's gone crazy. That's when you know where it's literally like, I see the bridge going up, but I'm not going to do anything to stop my car getting stuck. You can go in
Right.
reverse. We don't all have to just isn't there 2 lanes? Just turn around. But people going through windshields, watermelons smashing everywhere for some reason.
I did write watermelons. There was an enormous amount of watermelons on the bridge that day.
100%. And people falling into the
seriously
in between the slats. It was a whole thing. So I was like, if the rest of the movie's like this, not scary, but I will laugh. So that's something.
If it was me, I would have gotten out and run away the second that I noticed that cars were not moving as that thing was going up. But I mean, then you don't get all the fun.
I secretly have a fear of drawbridges. I mean, we don't have any here, but I'm pretty sure I've seen way too many movies where your car is right in the middle and it starts to open up. So I may not be able to ever go on a bridge with a drawbridge. It sounds like a freak thing.
You just have that intuition of fuck it, and you're just going to hit the gas and try and speed jump over it and see if you can clear it.
Boys.
Do it right. I'm going to generally
Smokey and the Bandit, right over it.
100%.
100%.
In my Mazda 3.
Why not?
In my Prius.
My Prius. You got to adjust it to power mode, and then you're good to go.
Right. So Barney from Silence of the Lambs, Frankie Faison, he plays this truck driver who drives a semi for the Happy Toy Company. And it's got the, quintessential Green Goblin face on the front of the truck, which when I was a kid, when we rented this, that was the selling point, right? It's like, ooh, this is like a fucking awesome looking diesel truck with a Green Goblin on it. Doesn't mean anything, has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. It's just one of the trucks of many in the movie.
It would be
such
a great
disappointment.
Hot Wheel, though.
Right. I thought it was going to come to life and the face was going to laugh at you and stuff like that. No, doesn't happen. Sorry, spoilers.
No, they trick us. They did a full bait and switch. I mean, that thing was on the poster.
All the money went to that.
It was
thing.
come
Everything
check
else
this
was
shit out.
painted. So that's where all that money went. We need to use it.
No, you're wrong. All the money went to cocaine, and what was left over went to the Green Goblin truck. So we cut to one of the guys that works at the truck stop. He's trying to fill up a car. It doesn't fill. So what does he do? The most intelligent thing ever, and he stares right down the barrel of the gas pump. And of course, what happens? He gets a face full of diesel and essentially goes blind.
I could not have guessed that was what would be the next thing that happened.
From the author of The Shining in The Stand.
Well, the thing about it is he's filling up the truck like what they would want, theoretically, right? So why is he getting diesel in the eyeball for his trouble?
There's a lot of questions.
I mean, what's going on here?
The truck
Makes no sense.
The truck didn't like the way it was doing it. He was like, I don't like your technique, buddy.
Well, or was it the pump? The pump's like, how dare you? No consent.
Because it seems like all the machines have different motivations at first, right? Like at first, everything wants to kill everybody, but then at some point, they become smart enough to realize that they need people in 10 hours from now when their engines start running out. We'll get to that later.
Who made who?
Who made who? Emilio plays Billy, who is essentially, in my opinion, just Repo Man, right? He's just playing that role. This is what happens 2 years later. He's left Los Angeles for this little podunk town, and he is a fry cook, a short order cook at this truck stop on probation. And first shot of the movie with him in it is him cracking eggs, and he can't crack eggs for shit. He breaks all the yolks in that omelet, in those fried eggs he's making.
They didn't teach him that in prison.
Right. He did not get his culinary degree, apparently. And then we get our first kind of real death of the movie as we start to understand what's going on. And that is a nameless character in the arcade gets shocked by one of the arcade machines. And the vending machines are going crazy, and they're spitting out coffee and cigarettes.
They baited him. Bastards.
Do you guys remember cigarette vending machines? I feel like I don't see those anymore. I remember they used to have those everywhere. They had them at Chuck E. Cheese.
100%, right next to the skee ball.
Now you just got to go to Europe. They're still on
right
every
next to
street
skee ball.
corner.
Play a little skee ball, buy some camels.
Well, and that's Giancarlo Esposito.
Oh my God, is it?
Giancarlo Esposito, yes, Gus Fring from Breaking Bad, has no lines. He's just the guy in the arcade who starts stuffing his pockets full of cash and cigarettes, and then gets hypnotized by the Frogger machine until he gets electrocuted.
The unlicensed knockoff Frogger machine, please. Toad. He got knocked out by the Toad machine.
Oh, 100%.
Toader.
As the guy who got his eyes splashed with diesel walks in, Pat Hingle has one of my favorite lines in the movie, and he says, "Go flush his eyes out and leave me alone." Like, that's his managerial skill right there.
That was it. Well, did you guys realize that was the baseball boy's father?
Yes, it took me half the movie to figure that out.
when that kid stumbles his way to the gas station, then it's like, oh yeah, that was Dad. He's dead now. Spoiler alert.
He's dead now. Which is funny because like the kid seems so.
And every time you say baseball boy, I think of Dr. Sleep.
Oh God, don't.
That's right.
Stephen King. So meanwhile, Stephanie, the waitress, she is taking over the grill so Billy can get chastised by Pat Hingle about working 9 hours but only clocking in for 8 because he's got the little star on his card saying that, hey, you're a probation guy. I got all these probation guys on my payroll, and this is just how it works. Like, this is the scam I'm running. You work 9 hours, I pay you for 8. And as he's doing that, an electric carving knife turns itself on and starts hacking away at her wrist. What are they using the carving knife for at the short order cook station? I don't understand. Like, they're not serving Thanksgiving roasts or anything.
It's turkey and omelets. That's their special, evidently.
And I wanted to know, some people had like 2 or 3 stars. Are they just like axe murderers, or are they beyond a felon? What does that mean?
That is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the more stars you have, the worse you are, the worse crimes you've committed. Yeah, he puts the guy with 1 star in the back of house and everyone else deals with the public.
Who are all those employees? They were not there.
Well, they were the guys who worked like the garage, right? There was like 3 dudes who were in the garage. So maybe, I don't know, that's where the axe murderers work? I don't know.
It's like the whole town is felon.
Yeah, and one of them was Leon Rippey from Deadwood.
Yep.
He pops up in there for a second.
Well, they were like 30 people like frequenting this diner at that time. It was like rush hour. It was packed when the shit goes down.
Right. And people pop in and out. You lose track of characters. You know, that's the, joys of directing and editing while high on cocaine. It's like, oh yeah, we got this guy. Yeah, get in there. We need him.
Well, people had names or they didn't have names. Some had lines, some didn't. It's like, is he an extra or is he the main character?
Right.
I don't know.
We get introduced to our female lead who comes into town driving with a Bible salesman who may just be a little bit pervy. I don't know. What do you think?
Every Bible salesman in every movie is never a good person.
So Laura Harrington, she plays Brett, and yeah, she's been in a few things. I mostly remembered her as Gilbert Grape's sister in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, the older sister. And then she is in Devil's Advocate as the woman who lies on stand about having an affair with Craig T. Nelson, who's supposed to be Donald Trump, who murdered his wife.
She was also in The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension.
Right. I saw that, and I've seen that movie like 1,000 times, and I had a hard time placing who she is in that movie.
She's Mrs. Johnson. So when Buckaroo and the gang come down to the compound, she's like the secretary or receptionist who goes, Buckaroo, you got to answer these phone messages or the fan mail or so. She's in 2 scenes.
Okay, there you go. I was like, is she someone in the club? Is like she in one of the other scenes? Does she work for Yo-Yo Dine? I couldn't place it, but good on you for that one. All right, so now we're getting into the real deaths, right? Because this is where the machines are starting to go crazy. So first of all, Little Deke, Little League boy, we get introduced to him in a scene where the team just won the big game and coach is going to go get them sodas. This must be some kind of shit Little League team because every Little League team I ever played against, it was a mom or a dad or a coach that bought a big cooler full of sodas. not
Of course.
rinky-dink coach with a pocket full of change who has to go to the vending machine to buy the
Where are
team
the
sodas.
orange slices?
Where are the orange slices and where's the big thing of Gatorade? This is bullshit.
Wouldn't it be more expensive to go to the frickin' vending machine with
Right?
your pocket full of change?
They're so terrible. You're right. Even the parents aren't showing up.
Right, seriously. Well, what if there wasn't enough soda in the machine? Some kids are going to be disappointed. Like, sodas are for winners. Sorry, kids, right?
That's coffee's for closers.
This brings me to now we're going to get into the deaths and rate them 1 through 10 because it really kind of starts with this one. And that is death by soda machine. Coach puts in a bunch of change and immediately gets a nut shot from projectile soda can, which takes him to his knees, and then it proceeds to launch soda cans directly into his face, causing a large hematoma, and he's dead. It's also shooting it at all the team members of the Little League team, and that's like our first real official on-screen cool machine death. What do we rate that death?
The fact that no one could just take one step over to avoid this, it's not like there was a wide range that it's a soda machine. It is not following you. So if you can't just fall to the ground to avoid the soda machine, then you get what you get and you don't throw a fit.
Yeah, that goes with some of the physics that we're going to talk about later. But also, the suspension of disbelief for this doesn't work for me because it does an extreme close-up of the little, serving tray of the soda machine, and you just see 2 like tennis ball launcher tubes right in shot that are just launching these things.
Right.
It's like, oh, so that's how this soda machine works. It just shoots it across the field at high speed.
Well, and you see a couple of the other players who just bite the dust like it's beaches of Normandy.
Right.
There's just like corpses just laying there.
Yeah, 100 yards away, it's still lobbing them.
Some of
at
those
the
kids really got hit too. You see the kids
They
running
did.
like, ah!
I think it was Stephen King throwing those like by himself, high on cocaine at high speeds. What are we giving that death? 1 through 10.
I mean, knowing what I know, I'm just going to say that this is a 9 out of a 10 on the Argento scale.
Since that's a scale because of the basketball death in Deadly Friend.
100%. I think I'm going to give it a solid 8. I think it's a solid 8. I think it's a good way to kind of lead us in to the carnage that you're going to see soon, very soon. So I think it's a good opening salvo, if you will.
I'm giving it a 9 because of the nut shot. Like, it starts off with a solid nut shot, and I'm a sucker for kicked in the groin comedy. So to start that death off with a nut shot, and the performance is great. He hunches over, open wide, crosses his eyes, and then gets nailed with a can. I think it was mwah. I give that a 9.
He just needed like the Tweety bird floating around his head.
Well, and that's the question I ask is, was this meant to be comedic? Him getting shot in the nuts with a can. Was it?
I laughed.
I laughed as well.
Whenever there's a nut shot, it's always meant to be comedic.
But like we said before,
do you remember the famous nut shot in All's Quiet on the Western Front? Or the nut shot in Total Recall? I don't know.
No question. Well, and that's the thing. It's like a nut shot is inherently comedic, which makes it go like, but none of the rest of this movie is funny at all. I'm confused. Well, let me funny.
Because you're not high on cocaine. I'm
cocaine?
Sure it's hysterical.
That's
then.
right. That's the key. You're right. There's a lot of funny parts.
If you don't think things are funny, the next death is a little leaguer literally run over by a steamroller, and you see his head pop like a grape.
Well, and what's great about that is if you watch, he's trying to ride his bike, and the bike like bucks him off. So is that also possessed by the crazy? The bike.
If the garden hose can be
the
possessed,
energy.
and Hot Wheels can be possessed, then for sure your bike. But it's randomly possessed.
Right.
Some bikes work perfectly fine.
Some cars work perfectly fine.
Simple mechanics. It doesn't necessarily have to be powered by electricity or gas, right? I'm giving Steamroller Boy an 8 because I love it when they kill kids in movies.
Did you see Sophie's Choice? Because that was a knee
That was a
slapper.
knee slapper.
Yeah, that was. See, that's intentional comedy. That's what we were just talking. Meryl Streep kicks the Nazi in the nuts and he takes one of her babies.
Oh, across his eyes.
Is that not the version you saw?
I'm going to give this one an 11, honestly, because I think it is so, because that tells you what kind of movie you're in store for. You know what I mean? Like an innocent child.
I agree.
Why is there a steamroller? Who the hell knows? Not necessary. Get the steamroller out there. He gets bucked off
the
bike.
baseball ring.
He just lays there. I've given up on life already. Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah. Take me, Jesus.
100%.
Yeah.
Aaron, what's your score on
You
that
can't
one?
argue. I'm giving it a 10. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Anytime any part of the human body pops like a grape,
We're good.
That's why I also like Chuck Russell's The Blob so much, because they have no fear like killing a kid and then showing his dissolved face. I'm like, yes.
He's a child. What are we doing? Anyway.
We're making our way to the next death. So we are introduced to Lisa Simpson and her husband Curtis as they stop for gas. And he's disappointed that she doesn't want him to watch her pee. I mean, come on. If you can't build a relationship off of that, is this marriage really going to last?
It's not. It's trust. It's intimacy. You know, I think that's standard.
Right. I mean, I think that's what makes Buc-ee's so popular in the Midwest is like every bathroom has like a cuck chair where you can sit and watch your significant other pee. Everyone knows about it, and they're really clean.
A cuck chair.
And they have great pulled pork sandwiches.
That's important.
I'm very sad we live in California for this moment.
Honorable mention deaths before we get to the next big ones. These are deaths that we actually don't see happen, but we see the evidence that they happened. Number 1, a dog killed by toy police car in the mouth. I can't figure that one out.
I don't think anybody could, honestly. I mean, to jump in there.
I like to think it's one of those orange, just kind of race car ramps with a loop-de-loop, and it just flew right into the dog's mouth.
Right.
Randomly.
Right into his mouth and asphyxiated him.
That'll do it.
We've already discussed man dead by Walkman. I'm assuming that was like a shock to the brain or something. I mean, double A's can be powerful, I guess.
Terrifying. A double A to the head.
Well, it looks like 2 people are killed by Walkman. Somebody like drops dead. Like you just see their corpse and a Walkman's there. And then there's somebody like sitting in like a chair in front of their house dead by Walkman.
He's like in a patio swing.
Yeah.
Girl dead by hair dryer cord around the neck. I still can't figure that one out either. It would make more sense if she was like burned to death or something.
Maybe it was unrelated. She was just depressed.
Or it jumped into her bathtub or something like that.
Yeah, but she's hanging out the window.
I know. The force of the electricity shot her across the room. It can be anything because none of it makes sense.
This is true. We keep forgetting that the variable to all of our questions is cocaine. Like,
Yes.
You know what I mean? The electric knife vibrated, so it could move towards you.
right. Like it had intelligent design.
Exactly. The blow dryer, while it will vibrate if you put it down, I'm not sure about swinging its cord around your neck. That's something else.
I mean, and you say the cocaine was the variable. I say it's the constant.
Erin's the teacher here, so maybe she knows. She is the educator.
Kevin's a teacher, too.
Oh, I did not know that.
Opinions vary.
Okay, so our next real death is Deke's dad, Duncan, the man who was blinded by Diesel, decides that he's going to go blindly walk out into the wilderness, into the city, to try and find his son. He makes it about, 10 feet before he's splatted by an oncoming 8-wheeler. I mean, it's fine.
It was for the best.
It was for the best for him, for sure.
There were a couple of those deaths, boom, boom, where it almost happens so slowly that it's
Right.
shocking that they're killed. You figure like, Emilio,
Step
bro,
to
you're
the
right
side.
there.
Step
You
to
could
the
have
side.
just jumped and pushed him
Get
out of the way.
Don't put gas back inside of it.
There are a lot of deaths in this movie where people just stand there and watch people die when they could have easily pulled them out of the way or done something about it.
Yep.
I'm giving Duncan's splat a 5. It's not that great.
No, it's pretty.
Didn't care.
Right. It's pretty run of the mill. I'm gonna give it a 3.
I'm giving it less than 0 because I didn't even care. They didn't even make us care enough, even though we knew he was bicycle or baseball boy's daddy.
All right. So Karen's giving it a Robert Downey Jr. getting pimped out by James Spader. Got it. All right.
Not a comedy, that one, by the way.
Okay.
Not so much.
No, not at all. Okay, so next is what we think is going to be a death, but not quite a death. And that is the Bible salesman thinks that Jesus must be on his side or something because he runs out to scold the diesel truck that just hit that dude Duncan. And then he gets hit, backed up at like 1 mile per hour and flies off into the ditch. So we're not going to score that yet because it's not quite a death, but it does knock him out of his shoes. So comedy-wise, I give it a 5.
Well, and again, Emilio was with him. They were like arm in
He was
arm
right
practically.
there.
So it was
Emilio's the curse.
he is the curse. I think we can all agree on that.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Emilio's kind of like Tippy Hedren and the Birds. Like, are they all coming to the truck stop because he's there?
That's what the locals think.
You can't take it off the table.
Right? Then we get some cool action scenes where Pat Hingle pops out of his building with a rocket launcher because apparently he has an arsenal in the basement, which he got in his Christmas stocking, and he starts taking out these mad trucks. I think that's pretty cool. Get some rocket launcher action from Pat Hingle. No death, so to speak, but again, this is another reason why I really like this character. Going on to Emilio Estevez and our girl Brett, the hitchhiker, Emilio's got short king mojo going on because she like falls in love with this dude instantly. And even in the course of this end of the world, like apocalyptic machines taking over, they still have time to get laid in the dry storage after he tells her his sob story of how he ended up in jail.
Yes.
Like,
well, let's take a look at what her options were at that point. You had KKK Kenny, the owner of the place. You got Tommy, baseball boy. And then you got the weird couple and Heckle and Jekyll. So she really was looking ahead about what's my future going to be. And she pegged it on Emilio.
This is true. Oh my God. It's a good point. If it's not like the end of the world, like who is she going to have her last intimate moments with?
Or who is going to throw themselves in front of the truck to save her?
Oh, that's right.
Fair. I mean, they were so enamored with each other. They literally pushed the corpses to the side to get down. You know what I mean? They're like,
just throw a blanket.
There are multiple corpses on the floor next to the cot. They could give a damn. They're like, I got to get mine.
And why were they dragging them in to put it in their only shelter where eventually the trucks would drive and flatten that whole thing? They were all going to have to be down there eventually.
Food?
What was that point?
Food? I don't know.
Well, they also work in a restaurant. They probably have a walk-in cooler. You wouldn't just throw the corpses in there to keep? I don't get it.
That's a fair point.
After saving Deke in the drain pipe and leaving the Bible salesman behind, they return to the truck stop where an M60 mounted vehicle takes out Pat Hingle and the Hicks. So multiple deaths in this scene, which is going to go back to my point of like the physics part. Kevin, you mentioned that, well, why didn't the Little League coach just duck after that first nut shot so he didn't get pelted in the head with a soda can? This M60 machine gun, it doesn't tilt. It just goes left and right. So why didn't they just duck? Like everyone's just getting shot at multiple levels.
I wrote that down. Why is everyone standing up, walking back and forth in front of all the windows?
Like Duck Hunt. Yeah. It was a situation where literally you're shocked how many people are killed. I mean, you figure we're going to lose a couple people here, but like 6 people. I'm just gonna keep standing if that's cool with you. Yeah.
You've got the producer on the side of the shot saying, all right, we've spent way too much money on cocaine. We got to cut some of these day players. So let's just take them all out in one go. Knock out half the cast in one scene.
I mean, he walks up to it at one point and disables it. Why didn't he just remove like the bullets? And then there was some comment like there's a collective consciousness between all the rubber hoses and the bicycles, and they will just call forth more weapons.
Right.
That was Emilio's idea. That's just science.
Well, I mean, somehow Emilio ends up being like the smartest person apparently in this world, which if that's the case, then we're fucked.
All screwed.
But
just lay down in front of the
he starts to like wonder. He says like that weird kind of like esoteric thing is like, what if it's a broom? Like, what if this comet is the broom to sweep humanity aside so an alien species can come down and take over? And I was like, okay, yeah, I think he used that same plot in that movie, The Dreamcatcher, in the book. It's like, but, you know, shit weasels instead of cars.
Shit weasels. Absolutely. Good Lord. No, because this is one of those moments where like, well, wait a minute. Because later it's revealed that there was an alien spaceship. So
Like
was
in the
the
tail.
spaceship related to the comet or just a happy coincidence? Or did the comet really not do anything and it was the spaceship that did it? Who knows what's happening?
All I can tell you is the aliens were batshit crazy about comets, and it's all Halley's Comet's fault. Son of a bitch. Not Hale Bop, though.
Well, and what was the one where all the people drank the Kool-Aid and they all wore like New Balance
That's
sneakers?
the Hale Bop.
What was that?
That's Hale Bop.
That was the Hale
Heaven's
Bop?
Gate.
That was,
Okay.
they thought they were
Heaven's
going,
Gate.
yeah, Heaven's
That's
Gate.
right.
They thought it was the Hale Bop comet. That was heaven.
We get one of the most heroic deaths in the movie following this. Wanda, the waitress who got hacked with the electric meat carver, she just can't get over the fact that we made the machine, so why are they turning on us? And she screams, "We made you!" several times throughout the movie. And then they play the song, Who Made Who?
Who made who?
And she, with her cold dying hand after being taken out by the M60, launches a rocket from the rocket launcher and blows up a trailer that wasn't even attached to anything, but still pretty epic. For the heroics and for the final line, I give that a 7.
Quite frankly, I'm taking points away because they should have taken her out a lot sooner. She was so irritating.
They should have taken her out at the first "We Made You" scene. They should have taken her out.
I would have locked her outside, quite frankly. I can't deal with that shit. So because of that, she's only getting a 6.
It was repetitive because it was like Bubba got shot down along with 6 other randos. And then she's like, I'm just going to go out there as well and offer myself up.
Right.
And
I'm going to scold the machines.
Right. I'm going to scold them as she's done multiple times. And I love that it was another random extra. I was like, no, Wanda, who the hell are you?
Where'd you come from?
Jesus, no, Wanda, it's not worth it. Are you going for your SAG card, buddy? I mean, you haven't. He's just ad-libbing. Who are you? Anyway.
So now after leading the survivors out of the station, the trucks destroy it. And before we get to that part, that is where Emilio figures out like, hey, we just give these trucks what they want. And they just fill them up with gas. They're doing like the round robin around the gas station. And eventually when they run out, one of the trucks that has fuel in it's like, well, here you go. Here's a hose. Fill her back up, shithead, and keep doing it. Like that is going to be their eternal thing. Is like they just are going to get stuck there for eternity, filling up tanks until all the gas is dry.
They already knew there was a fucking tunnel. Why didn't they just let him run out and just peace out through the tunnel?
It made absolutely no sense. None of it did. I mean, did they explain why Bubba had all like the arsenal down below? I know it's the South, but I mean,
like I feel it's like a militia thing.
Could be.
Like he was just prepared.
The South will rise again.
Right. Oh, there we go. It's a connection with was it 2000 Maniacs?
100%. Absolutely.
They lead the survivors out of the station. The trucks destroy the station, and then they're on the road. They're all armed to the teeth. And this is where like it's a really interesting ending, as in we do get the Green Goblin truck reappearing, and it's distracted by Brad, so it gives them a chance to blow it up. The end? Like, it's so anticlimactic.
Well, what was the guy doing? He was going back to like steal the ring off some woman who's killed by her electric window closer in her car.
Right.
No, he deserved. But that was another thing where it's like the car's 100 yards away. I'm going to stand here screaming, "No!"
No. It's like, I officially spent all of the budget on cocaine, so let's just end this thing. It's like it's the last shot. We're going to finalize the project here.
My question is, this is only in this town.
No, it isn't.
I mean, trucks were coming everywhere.
You hear it on the radio that was happening all over the world, though. But then once the comet passes, it stops and things go back to normal. So they could have just waited it out somewhere, essentially.
Did you see that like a plane had crashed into a school bus? Like they
Oh yeah, I did.
Like it just dive bomb kamikaze style right into the top of the school bus. That's a 10 out of 10 for me.
I wish I would have seen it. But aftermath wise, 10 out of 10. So, and then we get this little crazy like post-credit, during credit sequence of they're all on a boat because they'll be safe on the river, and Yeardley Smith has to use the bathroom. The end.
Well, what did they say? They were taking a sailboat to the island where no cars are allowed.
Right.
What island would that be?
Oh my God, the island of the dead.
Right, in the south.
And frankly, if your bicycle is jacked up, so is your sailboat.
Right. That's where none of the mechanics in this movie make sense. And I'm not even going to attempt to figure it out. Like, the answer is just cocaine. But that's when we do get the closing credit sequence to the live album recording of Shook Me All Night Long, not the album cut. Maybe that's just a choice. I don't know. I kind of liked it.
That was a choice. 100%. Well, and there was the crawl that explained that a Russian weather satellite with lasers and nuclear weapons blew up in a UFO.
Right.
And everything's cool now. It was...
Well, and I think it said like weather satellite in quotation marks.
Is it the comet? Is it the aliens? Is it?
Stephen King knew, but he can't remember. That's the whole problem with this. He's like, shit.
Well, because what was the short story Cars was like 8 pages long. So
right, that thing was based on
dead air, I guess.
Yeah, this was the time where any piece of trash that he put pen to paper had to be a major motion picture.
Right, like you were getting all of his little novella movies and I don't know, like Lawnmower Man, which wasn't even really based on his story. It was just the title.
It always goes back to Lawnmower Man. The Night Shift, just so much craposaurus.
100%. So that was Maximum Overdrive. Quick little recaps on the post-production and things that happened after it. So one of the trivia facts I find interesting is there's a long, I'm not going to say disputed, rumor that George Romero actually was like a ghost director on this film. He apparently was on the set.
Cocaine too.
Yeah, he was on cocaine too. But he was on set. Stephen King was asking him, like, how do I make a movie? And there are some people that say, like, oh, he just actually directed the movie. In my opinion, I don't want to believe that because it hurts my soul to think that Romero would have directed this movie. I mean, it is Night of the Living Dead with trucks instead of zombies, essentially. Like, it really kind of is, but I don't know. I don't want to think.
What came first, this or Creepshow?
Did you say what's worse?
Creepshow.
No, what came first?
Oh, I thought you said what's worse. I'm like, how dare you? Yeah, Creepshow was first.
No, then I bet. then they already know each other from Creepshow, so I bet he was on set.
Right.
But I would not insult him to say that he directed. He probably answered some questions.
Look, being a novelist is not a related field to being a film director. You know what I mean? It's like, it's one thing. It's like, well, right. I was raised on film sets. I was a best boy or a key grip or some shit. It's another thing to be like, well, I've been to the movies a couple times.
Well, he was in Creepshow.
Right.
So
It's true.
He thought that was all
Touche.
the training he needed.
Yeah, I saw him make a movie.
It don't look that hard.
Interesting factoid number 1, the director of photography. His name was Armando Nanuzzi. He got a splinter shot into his eye and blinded during the lawnmower chase scene and sued the production company, Dino De Laurentiis, for $18 million, which he did get when it was settled out of court. The budget for this movie was $9 million. So he got double the budget of the movie for getting a splinter in his eye.
Well, I know the story. They wanted to take the blade out of the lawnmower because they're not crazy.
Right.
And coked out Stephen King said, no. It must have the blade for this frickin' 30-second scene.
Oh my God.
Where no one really
that
dies
is the
on
reason.
camera.
Just in the crew.
But that is literally sounds like a scene out of Zombie with the giant splitter going into your eye pops.
Delicious. And the other one I want to throw out there, I'm sure you guys might have a couple, but this movie had a prequel in 1997 called Trucks, which aired on the USA Network. It essentially tells like another version of this story that's happening somewhere else based on the same novella by Stephen King, except it was made in 1997 and starred Timothy Busfield, which, God, what happened to that guy?
Around.
He did Trucks. That's what
Well,
happened.
who's he married to? Melissa Gilbert? Is that what it is these days?
Oh, that's right. Oh my God, he was. And you guys just talked about
who
Melissa
he's married
Gilbert
to?
on that last episode of your show.
It all ties
We
together.
constantly talk about
It all ties together.
You got
Dude.
to read her book. It's so fucking
Well, and
ridiculous.
I love Timothy Busfield because he was Poindexter in Revenge of the Nerds. In all the Revenge of the Nerds movies, I should
Yeah.
say. So, always a classic.
And forever known as the bad uncle who pushes his niece off of the stands in
Field of
Field of
Dreams.
Dreams, and then she
Yep.
chokes on a hot dog and almost dies. What a
Yes.
dick.
He was 100%. He was the villain of that movie because he was like a reasonable
He
person.
was.
Now, granted, you don't throw your niece off the bleachers with a hot dog halfway down her throat. So,
Unless she's
bad, in which
Right.
case.
I mean, so if she would have died, that would have been a 10 on my death scale for
Oh.
sure.
Easily. But old Burt Lancaster had to step off the field and save her
Right.
using the Heimlich. Somebody else could have given her the Heimlich. Moonlight, stay out there. Play a couple more innings.
Hey, we throw every movie we can into these podcasts. Like, we just throw shit, and if it sticks, it sticks, you know?
So did Stephen King, evidently.
So does Stephen King. Do you guys think that this deserves the like notoriously bad rap that it gets, or is there enough like camp factor and guilty pleasure, so bad is good, that kind of like maybe, I don't know, gives it a second grace? Because this thing does get screened at like midnight movie shows, and it's got a special edition boutique label Blu-ray and 4K. Like, there are people that really like this movie. And it makes me wonder, is it like the one man's trash is another man's treasure? Or is this one of those movies that like, it just doesn't make sense? People can't understand it. Therefore, they're attracted to it like a moth to a flame.
I don't mind the part where it doesn't make sense because it's so goofy. What I object to, it starts to get a little boring and repetitive with the trucks going around
It
and
does.
around. I think if it trimmed us about 20 minutes out.
Right. Like that middle part is kind of sluggish.
Yeah.
Well, and there's 25 minutes of Emilio and the dude going down like the Shawshank Tunnel. I mean, I was like, what are we doing? No, I mean, look,
yeah.
As we all know, we've seen some shit in our days. This is not that. Okay, it's not good. Let's be clear. But it's not like.
But is it bad enough to be good? I'm not sure it is.
I don't think it's like, oh, it's hilarious how bad it's not Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
It's not Plan 9 from Outer
It's not
Space.
Ninja 3, The Domination. Okay, it's not
It's not
that.
Manos Hands of Fate.
Right,
I agree.
It's just kind of, it exists. Does it deserve the rap of being a total dumpster fire? I don't think it's a dumpster fire. I mean, despite all the cocaine behind the scenes, it's just kind of like, okay, in my opinion.
There's just not enough going on. I mean, there's a couple of slow scenes that we just didn't need to see. It need to be tightened up.
Right.
You want to be crazy, but don't bore me.
I think it's partially saved by the AC/DC soundtrack, because even though it's not all great cuts, the energy's there. I like it. It's a lot of fun. I think it's got a lot of shitty characters. Like, sorry, I can't stand Yeardley Smith in anything but The Simpsons. So that's a big downfall right there.
We should never see her again. No. Just keep doing Lisa.
But other than that, yeah, I mean, it's not the best movie. It's not the worst. I think it does deserve its cult following, but I also think that it's got too many nostalgia goggles to it for certain people. Like, it just doesn't really hold up for me.
They saw it on the movie channel when they were 11 and mom had gone out of town and the babysitter fell asleep.
Now, there you go.
That's the nostalgia factor.
Right. 100%.
Fun talk, guys. Always a great conversation, especially movies like this, that we can just kind of throw some shit at it, have some fun, and make fun of kids getting killed. Like, that's what we're here for. That's what we bring to the world.
What is the other car out of control sentient car monster? Not Christine. That's another Stephen King. But wasn't there a Lucas one? Wasn't there one about a big black car?
Wraith?
There was the car from the 70s.
But was it The Car is what it was called?
With James Brolin, I think, was in it, from the 70s. Is that what you're talking about?
But they keep trying to bring this back. It's not Knight Rider. If Knight Rider was bad and also talked to you at the same time, that could be something I could
Ooh, I kind of like that. Like a darker approach to it.
I want it to be yelling and screaming obscenities as it runs you over.
Right. Well, if I'm going to see a movie like that, I want to see The Love Bug. Herbie goes fucking bananas and death races 2000s everybody, right?
Absolutely.
Dude, Herbie versus Christine. This time it's personal.
Sign me up.
Excellent. All right, so you guys just put out Deadly Friend as of this recording. Great episode. What is coming up to the podcast that wouldn't die?
Let's see. Next week we got The Devil's Reign with William Shatner and Ernest Borgnine and all the rest.
That's my fault.
Which is another bad shit.
William Shatner, so I volunteered that.
You're to blame. No question, Aaron. Good grief. So you have that to look forward to as well. So good times.
I'm excited for that one. And everyone, you can find all of their links on my website, thecultworthy.com, under the Cultworthy Partners page. Podcasts That Wouldn't Die on Instagram, on X. You're pretty much on all the same socials that the rest of us podcasters are. And if you enjoy this episode, go back and listen to their other appearances. We did Phantom of the Paradise, we did Rockula, and we did Bugsy Malone, which I think that's my favorite one so far.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I keep bringing up Rockula to people.
Paul Williams singing through children's mouths is just something special.
It should be illegal in at least 13 states.
No question.
I think it is. All right, well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Everyone, thank you for watching and listening. Please subscribe to the Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Rate, review, subscribe to their show, give it 5 stars. Do the same for me, and I'll see you in a few months, maybe a year, and we'll pick some other nightmare movie to do. It's going to be fantastic.
And we'll have you on our show as well, bro. Let's do it.
There you go. All right. Good night, everybody.